Hi, I'm Iris Matthews, a romance author. We're hopping right back into The House in the Cerulean Sea, TJ Klune's 2020 novel. We're picking up in chapter 4 as Linus is traveling on the train up to the island to meet the 6 mysteriously magical children and the 1 extra mysterious master of the orphanage. Rain sluiced down the windows as the train chugged along through empty fields and forests with great old trees. He'd been on the train for almost 8 hours when he realized it was quiet. Too quiet. He looked up from the rules and regulations he'd brought from home. The attendant smiled at him before looking down at the ticket. He whistled low. Marseilles, end of the line. He punched it with his clicker. Well, good news then. 2 more stops and you're there. In fact, if you... yes, look. He gestured toward the window. Linus turned his head and his breath caught in his throat. It was as if the rain clouds had reached as far as they could. The gray darkness gave way to a bright and wonderful blue like Linus had never seen before. The rain stopped as they passed out of the storm and into the sun. He closed his eyes briefly, feeling the warmth through the glass against his face. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt sunlight. He opened his eyes again, and that's when he saw it in the distance. There was green, bright and beautiful greens of waving grass, and what appeared to be flowers and pinks and purples and golds. They disappeared into white sand, and beyond the white was cerulean. He barely noticed when the rules and regulations fell to the floor of the train with a loud thump. Don't you wish you were here? Is that the ocean? Linus whispered. It is, the attendant said. Quite the sight, isn't it? Though you act like you've never... Say, have you never seen the ocean before? Linus shook his head minutely. Only in pictures. It's so much bigger than I thought it'd be. The attendant laughed. That's only a small portion of it. The moment he stepped off the train, crate in one hand, luggage in the other, he smelled salt in the air and heard the call of seabirds overhead. A breeze ruffled his hair, and he turned his face toward the sun. He let himself breathe for a moment, basking in the warmth. It wasn't until the bell on the train rang out and it started chugging away that he looked around. He stood on a raised platform. There were metal benches in front of him under an overhang. The overhang was painted in blue and white stripes. Along the edges of the platform and stretching as far as he could see was beach grass growing atop dunes of sand. He heard what sounded like waves crashing in the distance. He'd never seen anything looking so bright. It was as if this place had never seen a rain cloud. He unzipped his bag enough for him to reach inside for the envelope he'd placed on top. It was thick, nearly bursting at the seams. He pulled out the bundle of papers, held together by a leather strap. On the top was a letter addressed to him, typed neatly and cleanly. He folded the letter and put it back in his breast pocket before looking at the files in his hand. No time like the present, I suppose, he told Calliope, his cat. Let's see how big of a secret this actually is. I'm sure this is all blown out of proportion. The higher your expectations, the greater the disappointment. Linus Baker fainted dead away. Linus opened his eyes, blinking slowly. A woman peered down at him, silhouetted by the sun. Linus sat up quickly. Where am I? The woman took a step back, a look of cool amusement on her face. Marseilles train station, of course. An odd place for a nap, but I suppose it's as good a place as any. Linus pushed himself off the floor of the platform. He felt gritty and out of sorts. There was an ache in his head, and he seemed to have accumulated quite a collection of sand on his backside. He brushed himself off as he looked around wildly. Calliope sat in her crate, tail twitching as she watched him warily. His luggage sat near her, and there, on the bench he'd been sitting on, was a pile of folders. Thanks for joining me on this passage reading. I'll see you next time.